the Senior Workplace Relations Advisor at the Real Estate Employers Federation. In this episode of Reef TV, we're looking at industrial awards and the role they play in the management of real estate employees. To talk about the topic, I'm joined by Anna Lai, one of our resident workplace relations advisors here at Reef. Anna, unfortunately, there are a lot of real estate industry employers out there who have a very limited understanding about what an award actually is, and there's probably plenty that have never heard of an award before. So can you tell us what is an industrial award and what purpose do they serve?
Thanks, Laura. An award is simply a document setting out the minimum terms and conditions of employment that apply to employees in a particular industry or occupation. These minimum terms and conditions include things like the minimum wage to be paid to an employee's ordinary hours of work, what's required in terms of payment for working overtime, restrictions on part-time and casual employment, and of course lots of other things. These minimum terms and conditions are approved by the Fair Work Commission as being fair and reasonable. There are actually more than 120 awards applying to different industries and occupations, and while there are some common conditions across these, there are also many that are specific to particular industries and occupations.
So Anna, can you tell us what awards apply in the real estate industry?
The two main awards are the Real Estate Industry Award and Clerks Private Sector Award. These awards apply across all Australian jurisdictions, so it doesn't matter if you're in Bundaberg or Broome, Belconnen or Ballarat, they apply.
Are there any real estate businesses that the awards don't apply to?
Yes, of course. There are some exemptions, Laura. Where an agency has a registered enterprise agreement that's approved and endorsed by the Fair Work Commission, that enterprise agreement will replace the awards. However, this will only be the case for quite a small number of agencies. Employees who receive a base salary, not including commissions or bonuses, in excess of the high income threshold can also be exempt from award coverage. For the 2017-18 financial year, the high income threshold is set at $142,000 per annum, and this increases each year with indexation. Not surprisingly, given the level of high income threshold, this exemption is relatively rare in the real estate industry.
So putting aside those few exemptions that you just covered, Anna, how does a real estate industry employer actually determine which award applies to their employees?
Let's look at the Real Estate Industry Award first, which is the primary award for our industry. The Real Estate Industry Award applies to all real estate employers across Australia in respect of their employees working in sales, property management, and strata management. This includes employees carrying out operational activities relating to the sale or management of residential, commercial, retail or industrial real estate. Put simply, the Real Estate Industry Award sets out the minimum terms and conditions of employment for operational employees, including things like what constitutes full-time, part-time and casual employment, the minimum rates of pay for different classifications of employees, how an employee is expected to terminate their employment, obligations relating to redundancy, obligations relating to commission and bonus arrangements, provisions about commission-only employment, how and when wages and other entitlements must be paid, hours of work and overtime, and obligations regarding an employee's various leave entitlements. The Clerks Private Sector Award, or just the Clerks Award, covers employers in the private sector, including real estate, in respect of their employees who are engaged wholly or principally in clerical work.
Thank you for that, Anna. Now here's a common issue for you. What happens when the duties that an employee does fall in both camps? So they've got duties under both awards. I'll give you an example. What if an agency employs someone to assist in property management, but their duties are mainly clerical in nature?
That's a good question, Laura. It's a really common situation and it's been a constant source of confusion for real estate employers over the years. Working out the correct award coverage can be tricky. Each case needs to be assessed on its own facts and circumstances, and I'd recommend that anyone facing this type of situation give Reef a call for advice.
Let's talk about the minimum conditions of employment now, Anna. Are they the same under both awards?
While the Real Estate Industry Award and the Clerks Award deal with essentially the same subject matter, the conditions are not necessarily the same. Perhaps the best example of this is the difference in relation to hours of work. For employees covered in the Real Estate Industry Award, Ordinary hours of work can be worked out in any day of the week at any time of the day without penalty. Even the entitlement to an overtime penalty rate of pay is fairly limited in its application. But the Clerks Award, on the other hand, places restrictions on when ordinary hours can be worked. Monday to Friday between 7am and 7pm, and on Saturdays from 7am to 12:30pm. And for ordinary hours worked on Saturday, there's a penalty rate of time and a quarter.
So Anna, you've explained that the Real Estate Industry Award and the Clerks Private Sector Award contain minimum employment conditions. Is it possible for an employer to change that?
Yes, they can be changed, but only in limited circumstances and only subject to strict conditions. Both awards contain a provision that entitles an employer and an individual employee to agree to vary the application of certain award terms to meet the genuine needs of the employer and employee. In the real estate industry, the terms that can be varied are really limited to overtime rates, allowances, and annual leave loading. The rules around the process for altering an award term are strict, so employers really need to give us a call before heading down that path.
Can you give me an example of when altering a position might be appropriate?
Sure, REEF has helped dozens of members prepare what is called an individual flexibility agreement to remove the employer's obligation to pay annual leave loading when an employee takes annual leave. In return, the employer pays the employee a small extra amount of around $10 a week in compensation for sacrificing the award condition. The important thing to remember when it comes to altering award conditions is that the employee must not be worse off as a result.
What happens if an employer chooses not to follow an award condition? Can there be consequences?
The conditions of employment under the two awards are different, as are the consequences. But not to put too much of a fine point on it, as a general point, the penalties a court may impose can potentially be catastrophic. At the lower end of the scale, a business could incur a fine up to a maximum of $63,000 for a company. This applies to less severe breaches that are mostly unintentional in nature. But at the other end of the scale, if a court determines that a breach is more serious because of its deliberate or part of a systematic pattern of conduct, the fines can rise up to a maximum of $630,000 for a company. Fines can also apply against individual directors and managers. This really underlines the importance of having access to information about these awards and having advice at hand to help in their practical application. This is where REEF comes in.
Anna, do employers need to give their employees a copy of the relevant award?
They don't have to provide a copy of the relevant award to each employee, but it's a requirement that they make that copy available to employees. This can be done either by placing a copy in the common area in the workplace or making them available electronically, such as on the share drive.
Thanks, Anna. So there you have it, some of the essential things you need to know about the Real Estate Industry Award and the Clerks Award, and the role they play in setting the minimum conditions of employment for employees in our industry. Don't forget, you can download the latest versions of the Real Estate Industry Award and the Clerks Private Sector Award by logging into the REEF People Management System. Simply go to reef.org.au, click on the login button, and then enter your details. Thanks for watching this episode of REEF TV. Make sure you catch our other episodes to stay up to date with all the latest workplace relations information and news impacting your real estate business. See you next time.